Alright everyone, welcome back to another video. Last time we left off with General Doolittle's raid on Japan and the success of that. We're going to turn back a few pages, so just for a second here, because I want to talk about something that's not in the book, but is in the timeline here a few months before General Doolittle's raid. And now we see here it talks about the Russian encircle the German 18th Army, or no, that's the 16th Army, my bad. And this is February 24th, 1942. Now, to many of those who know of the Second World War and the things that went on during it, there is another little event that happens in the United States during this day, the night of February 24th into the morning of February 25th. And now what that event is the Battle of Los Angeles, which, for those who don't know, was a supposed night raid on the coastal city of in California of Los Angeles. Now, what actually happened during the raid is up to lots of debate. Originally, they thought the Japanese were coming to bomb California, mostly because this is, in the grand scheme of things, not that long after Pearl Harbor, and so a lot of Americans were afraid, and even the Coast Guard, or I guess not the Coast Guard, but the National Guard, was also kind of on edge. And there are many reports of what it is. Now, what the official report is, as of today, and it might have changed a little bit, but the official report is that it was a weather balloon, my bad, that had gotten too close and given off something and had fooled one of the National Guard that were sitting there, and they put spotlights and they were trying to find it, and then it freaked everyone out, and there were gunshots in the night of them trying to shoot this thing down and them missing. But that's the official report. It was a weather balloon, and it just spooked some people in the military, and then they misfired and caused this whole ruckus. Now, obviously, there are some conspiracy theories. Obviously. One, though, I would say the main one that most people think of, and there's a movie that's kind of based off of this, sort of. It's more like in the future kind of thing, but it is aliens. Now, I'm not going to say it was, because I don't know, but one of the main theories is that it was aliens attacking, and that's why long into the night these guys are firing into the air, because they're trying to shoot down these aliens that are evading them, or they are hitting them, and we just don't know. But I thought I would bring that event up because it's one of those interesting things that is kind of talked about, but it's not super important because nothing really happened. But it was an event that America thought we were under attack, and it was very scary for many people. And it was one of those things of war hysteria that shows people that, hey, just because maybe something isn't happening, people can make you think it is pretty easily. So it's always good to trust your own discretion and your own judgment on certain things, because sometimes people may be leading you to do something that might not be quite what you think it is. But now we're going to get back to our regularly scheduled time in the future. Hope you guys didn't mind that 4 minutes. I thought that was an interesting little thing. And we'll talk about probably at the end of this war, or this year of the war, so we're getting up here soon, about some of the horrible things that happened within America that a lot of us would rather wish we didn't do. But for that, we're going on to a Tokyo radar comes down in China, April 18th, 1942. After the raid on Tokyo. I'll have the first picture up there. Several planes in the squadrons that took off from Tokyo from the airplane carrier Hornet failed to return to the mothership. In the picture at top, this one right here, it's very hard to see, is the wing of one of the bombers after it crashed on top of a Chinese mountain. While at the bottom is another view of the wreckage. At the time of the raid, there was no mention of any American losses or that any of the squadrons had fallen into the hands of the Japanese. But 6 months later, a Tokyo broadcast named 4 men they were holding. It was then that the U.S. disclosed that several of Doolittle's squadrons never returned. And yeah, you wouldn't want to tell this to the American people, obviously, at first, because the idea would be like, oh, well, they're just going to freak out. And while they would, to be fair, these guys did get what would be considered good attack on the enemy. So it's one of those, it was a calculated risk, and the people that did it knew of the risk, and they did suffer the consequences of that risk. Chinese come to the rescue of the Tokyo Raiders. April 18th, 1942. Help from an ally. Show the picture. Chinese carry some of the Tokyo Raiders from the summit of the Chinese mountain where their bomber was forced down after raiding the Japanese capital. After flyers who were shot or forced down over Japan were not so fortunate and were forced to suffer horrible forms of torture, it was revealed several months later one of the planes landed on Russian territory, and the crew was interned by Soviet authorities. The Soviet, not being at war with Japan, several of the enemy's interceptor planes were shot down by American flyers. So the Soviets interned the guys. Eventually, they would get turned back over to the United States, I believe. But, since the Soviet Union wasn't at war, which is weird that they call them just the Soviet here. I never heard that referred that way, but, they would have been interned and then later released back to the Americans because they were allies and things like that. And yeah, China, obviously, they turn them back over and help them pretty easily. Germans relieve their 16th Army. April 24th, 1942. German army avoids annihilation. On April 24th, the Germans succeeded in relieving their 16th Army, which had been encircled near Styria Russa. In February, during the 2 months it had been cut off, it had been kept supplied by air, and although its number had been seriously depleted, it had nevertheless remained intact in a fighting unit. The picture shows German soldiers surrendering dead bodies of their comrades in the foreground, bear witness to the doggedness of their resistance and their confidence in the promise made by German high command that they would be relieved. Yeah, this army, they say it was, saved and all that, but this army was basically obliterated. It did get relieved. I didn't think this one did, but it's saying they did. Maybe I'm thinking of a different one later on, but yeah, it is obliterated, basically. It's not completely obliterated. It's not completely gone or anything, but yeah, this army takes mass casualties. It is absurd the amount of damage that they take here. A famous cathedral city gets a dose of bombs. April 24th, 1942. First of the Badika raids. I don't think I pronounced that right, by the way. On April 24th, the Luftwaffe raided the historic city of Exeter, where considerable damage was inflicted on as many ancient buildings and churches, including the famous cathedral dating from 1107 AD. This raid was followed by raids on Norwich, Bath, and York, and an official spokesman in Berlin described them as reprisals for the damage done to by the Royal Air Force to the buildings in Lübeck and Rostock, and added that the Luftwaffe would bomb every building in Britain marked with 3 stars in Baedeker. Above, the cathedral is seen standing amidst the ruins of Exeter. So we see the cathedral there. Yeah, and just think about this. They just kept bombing ancient historical sites. I mean, like Bath is one of the most ancient cities in Britain. It was a Roman city from way back in the day. And yeah, just the devastation that's caused by this war. So much history lost. And it's very unfortunate. Well, obviously, yes, obviously lives too, but, you know, obviously, that's an obvious thing. I don't feel like I needed to explain that one, but that is going to do it for this video. If you guys liked the video, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a comment. Tell me what I can improve on. I always appreciate your feedback. And as always, subscribe. It really does help out the channel. Thank you.